This is Lorelai, and hi, good afternoon, or good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world. It is Lorelai, and I'm here. I'm having some issues with my webcam, as usual, but I wanted to come on today because this, yeah, I can see this here. Okay, so, um, so what I'm going to talk about today, the topic is psychic abilities, our psychic abilities, what it really means to be psychic. Um, it's not a word that I hear a lot anymore, but I've had some experiences in my life. This week I had some experiences, and especially with my children. So the clearest example that I could give of one of my children was that when they were 4 or 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, um, there were two things that they said. One day, they just were sitting in the back seat. Okay, there's actually three things. Okay, so here's the top three things. So I'm driving my car, and they're sitting in the back seat, and they say, "Oh, Mom, um, when are my brothers coming?" Now, this is an only child. This is funny another child, but it hasn't happened for us. It just hasn't happened, and we were like, okay, well then, if we have one amazing child, then that's great. It's fine with us. But my child said, when are my siblings coming? And it was like, I didn't have a good answer for that, but I was like, all right, let me think about this. And it was the way my child said it. I felt it. Like they said it, and I felt the truth in it. And I'd had other experiences with my child who would share things with me, or they'd share things about my past with me, things I hadn't told them, but things that I knew I was thinking. A lot of times when you play music that you grew up with, whether it was grade school or junior high, especially high school or early 20s, college age, that whole music is so important. It's such a personal expression. And so I was fascinated, and I always listened to my child because I spent my whole life studying metaphysics and thinking when I have a family, it's going to be completely different because I studied all these things. I know all these things. I love teaching. I'm kind of the Montessori method. If you know what that means, like it's living through experience and doing. And I thought, I'm ready. I'm ready. I got the perfect partner. We're really a good team. I picked a great father. I knew that. And here we were. And so I listened to them, and I realized pretty quickly that they had their own ideas of the world, that they had their own form of spirituality, and that I got to live and practice mine, and that my best efforts were placed in how I lived as an example and interacted with my child at the time. And then also creating this environment to thrive in, environment of things I wanted them to experience, a variety. What is it that they wanted to experience? What did my partner want to make sure that we all experienced and contribute to the life and the environment and the relationships? And I learned sometime in the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years, I was like, I told my partner, I'm like, guess what? We signed up for a new way of parenting, and we didn't even know we signed up for it. And it was how to parent without force, punishment, and trying to basically put your will over your children's. And because those were the kinds of things that we experienced. It's multi-generational, right? Multi-generational. This is just about patterns that happen. If it weren't in my family, or weren't those individuals who showed up to create the environment in which my soul came into, it would have been another environment. It would have been other people. So it's not that I hold those beautiful souls who came in to play the part of my mother, and then my father, and then my other stepfather, and then my other stepfather, all those people who came into my life to play those roles. And so what I just want to preface this in saying that when I say and when I'm doing my shadow work that this happened to me, I'm doing it from a point of view so I can see the pattern, because that was in my life for some reason, and it's important to me anyway to gather all that up and to move forward and not have any feel like any parts of me are missing. In shamanism, we call it, fragmented souls. That a part of your soul, a part of your maturity and existence gets stuck. And so we recall, we do soul retrieval for different things. So it's another aspect of it. So when my child said to me, one of the other ones coming, I'm like, oh, that to me meant they're coming. I had experienced that with my innocent child so often, and I just wanted to listen to them. I wanted to listen to them rather than to fill them up of what my beliefs were. Now, what we did do is give them the basic building blocks, right? Your physical, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual needs. And we filled our spiritual needs by giving them an introduction to religion, and we did go to Spirit of Mind when my kids were very young. We've always introduced and prayed. So and I have angels in the house. So there's many forms of prayer that I've introduced them to through being here and being around me. So I really wanted lots of culture, lots of different ways, and certainly my oldest, because that was my first, and we were together for 6 years before another sibling did come along, and that at the end of that story is there were two more that were coming, and they were right. So when they said that psychic impression, right? I said, okay, what else can I do to connect, to bring another soul in? And we ended up with two. Or be done with it. I said, me and the universe and I, that's my desire. I have room in my life and my heart, and little did we know what was going to go on with COVID. And I was just really grateful that I had the opportunity to have three amazing souls in my world during that time. So that's some of the ways in which I learned about how psychic my child is. Now, another thing that my child did that I was telling them about the other day is that what was it? This was the funniest thing. We talked about religion. So when my child was like, they must have been about 5 this time, I asked them about different Christian religious things. And I would ask them, what's the purpose of Easter? What's the purpose of this? And they always had a really amazing answer. And those answers did not come from me teaching them this lifetime those things, because I knew how much religious education they had at that point. And it really wasn't that much. And they were very young. And I asked them, and I'm like, I know they're tapping into the universal mind. They're tapping into something that is able to provide these very accurate answers. And I said, okay, I totally support that. And, whatever, I'm going to introduce metaphysics. I'm going to introduce lots of different culture and lots of different religion, and looking for the universal nature and connection, and to honor all our connections, to honor all people's connections, and we all get our choices. So at one point in my own adult life, after my kids were older, I would just say this, that I was able to say, this was after, there were things that were brought forward in religion, and all religion that has that man-made substance in it does, we will see human atrocities, human errors, right? In the name of what? In the name of religion, in the name of politics, in the name of pharmaceuticals, in the name of science. So I was like, I personally enjoyed my relationship with religion, but I realized that my relationship was more with the passion, the love, how we helped one another, that it wasn't about a bureaucracy. It wasn't about these things that happen when when people don't have their basic needs met, even in church, then things start to creep in, which rest the purity of you, if you will, of that religion. So we saw that, and I decided that I needed to honor that, but take a step back from that, and that if that religion was hurting people, and people were handling that in different ways than other than what I would do, then I took a step back and I said, religion doesn't get to dictate who I am. I can still see. I started teaching my kids religion from a more historical point of view. We studied religion from a architectural point of view. We studied religion as structure and science and belief systems. So they got that without me telling them, this is how you think and this is what you're supposed to think and how you're supposed to act. Because coming full circle again with this signing up for this being parents, spiritual parenting like a spirit guide, to give direction and to give the basic building blocks, right? So that was the integrity. Probably like living the Ten Commandments was another strong thing that, and I would say that any of those strong, it's a strong ethical rules, right? Ethical, how to act, how to conduct, just good things for being human, good ways for being truthful with yourself and other people, to forgive yourself every day, to forgive other people, to do the best you can with what you have, and to be inspired by your life and to encourage other people to be inspired by theirs, not to override other people's dreams because you think yours are more important. Things like that. Be a good listener. Be grateful. Be loving. Be kind. And be truthful. And what's the filter? The filter goes through three things. If I want to say something to somebody, it's when maybe somebody is I can see that there is something going on in their life which is causing them friction, which is causing them to be upset, which is causing them not to operate fully, mentally, emotionally, physically like they might, right? When you're kind of working on something, your life comes smaller and becomes that problem or that thing, or how to create something. It doesn't even have to be a problem. It could be like, oh, I want this to be bigger. I want this to serve more people. I want this to be really deep and heartfelt. I want to create the space of safety and vulnerability and help that process, right? So, is it loving? That's the filter. Is it loving? Is it kind? And is it necessary? Is it loving? Is it kind? And is it necessary? And if it's not loving, don't say it. If it's not kind, don't say it. And if it's not necessary, don't say it. Now, I'm talking about people who, again, this could be people that you know, or it could be people at work. And sometimes we feel like we have to give people a piece of our mind. And there's a quote that I saw that let's give people a piece of our heart, to come to compassion. And compassion coming with compassion. So what do I mean by that? Well, being like the sunshine. The sun shines equally in all areas. It disperses it, and then wherever it goes, however it infuses, and we never say, oh, that's not a sun. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. That wasn't enough, or that was too much. It goes. It's a universal principle. It's this cosmic energy that goes. And when we see somebody who we want to communicate with, but we notice that they're not quite, I'll say, online all the way, part of them is offline, then that's the time when you come to them with compassion and you say, I see you through the eyes of God. I see you through the eyes of the avatars. I see you through the eyes of love. And my personality does not need to dump on you right now. There's this role that we play as coworkers. There's this role that we play as spouses. There's a role that we might play as neighbors. We might be people like me driving this morning and seeing people who are breaking social agreements to drive safely and to not run over my child when they're crossing the crosswalk, stuff like this, that you're like, how do I live in a world where this goes on? And the thing is that you show up for yourself, you do the best you can. You don't judge others, but you could stand up and say, yeah, hey, stop. that's my child crossing the street. I'm going to honk at you. I would want you to wait for mine. So these are ways to be spiritual and to still, these are ways to be spiritual and to still be kind, be loving, and it's necessary. The more aligned, as a matter of fact, the more aligned that I have become with myself, then I'm more able to access those in the moment type of, let's say, reaction, but it's not, there's the emergency reaction. There is an emergency reaction where you just move in without thinking. And who knows what can happen with that. Then there's another one where you're moving in and you have you have a good awareness of what you're doing and you still feel like you have a choice. But you might yell and you might scream, you might stand up, You do what you feel is required in the moment. Maybe what's required in the moment is as an ambulance is going by, bless them. To sit with, open your heart and open your mind and embrace him in beautiful love. Embrace him in this beautiful pink color. Embrace him in even beautiful ruby red. I'm going to go through the colors. So these are the colors to choose from for yourself and for others. So if I see how do I make my everyday commute spiritual? Well, and what does this have to do with being psychic? So being psychic to me is something that it's like a big thing. It's a big thing that happens. Though it does happen when it's small, usually people are like, I was psychic, that was right on. You just like pull that out of thin air, and it was like a big, clear thought that was connected to something that had a big energy to it. Intuition is something that we're more familiar with. And I think the difference with intuition is that intuition comes from the body awareness. It comes from being connected to our environment. It comes from, we're connected to this inner Wi-Fi of telepathy and empathy. And the more aligned that we are with understanding that we are responsible for our thoughts because we're in a telepathic network with our self first, with those most closest to us, family, loved ones, friends, and even those who really, push our buttons, those that we get an electrical charge, those that we have hard relationships with. Just because of that energy that's in there, the attractiveness of it, that they're also really connected to us. And when we resolve whatever it is that was brought forward for us to see, to notice, to recapitulate, right, to bring back into harmony, to understand it, then that then they're not in our aura. They're not in our face. They might be in our presence, but that energy is not right in front of us. Okay, so I'll talk about what to do. It's related to psychic energy about why and how that could be important. The other part of that is that let's see, what's it? Okay, I forget the other part of that, but I just want to summarize and say that I started by saying the first thing is, before spirit, emotionally, physically taking care of ourselves. Why? Why? Because that actually gives us the most stability, because taking care of ourselves is love. We do not have stability within ourselves, mentally, emotionally, physically, in all those areas, abundance, then we're giving to people from things that we don't have. So I'm giving something to you from my life that I need for myself to sustain, but I'm giving it to you. And so this is what we call codependency. Why am I giving that to you? I don't know. There could be 10,000 ways, but I've seen, for many of us, and even when I was really young, I was tied into this, and I have to be conscious of it. And it's the need to be needed. It's the I give you that because it's just sitting there for me, and I'm not really caring for myself. But when I give it to you and you appreciate it and you value me, then that makes me feel good. Okay, but then what happens is that then I have to give more in order feel good. Love, self-love isn't enough from within. That love is reflected from what other people see, how other people value. And what is that? Not only codependency, but then it opens us to be vulnerable to manipulation. And it's not that people take our power. You probably heard that. It's not that people take our power, it's that we give it away. So if you're psychic, I'm sure that you have, empathic abilities, telepathy, empathy are building intuition, and intuition connects into the larger fields, the chakras of the world, the chakras of the universe. And that's usually when we talk about psychic things, again, where they come from those outer layers. So the more that you are in alignment with what your thought forms are, your telepathy, the feelings that you're emitting, and the thoughts, images that go together, that's a thought form. And the empty is actually the thought form, that's emotions, feelings, frequencies. And it's not just like happy or sad, it's like a 3,000 it's a 3,000 ingredient feeling, and it comes from the past, it comes from our experiences. So that was I wanted to sum up with that. So make sure that you're getting your needs met. Make sure that it's not a leaky boat, your mental, emotional, physical needs met. Then there's this leaky boat syndrome, which I call it, which you will go out and you'll try to give things and do things. In the meantime, you're leaking. You have water coming in. The water's coming. You have to stop helping other people because now your boat is underwater and now you're the one that needs rescuing, or you're the one that needs saving. So I hope that you take that image and maybe think of something that is your own, and ask yourself, ask your spirit guide, what are the things that I need to do in order to secure my stability, to secure my holiness, my spiritual nature. Show me the places for me to work on that. And that's where our shadow work is. Okay, let me see. I think I'm coming to the end of this. What else about psychic kids? Well, there's psychic kids. So there's, I'll give you a small taste of this, which is there's a psychic kids all over the world. And I know in the early 20s, I was introduced to the Psychic Children's Network. And I had just kind of a passing understanding of it. It's not something that I delved into, but it was someone who I knew did this kind of work. And so I kept them in my prayers, and I read some of their books, and I had connections to them in the area that I live in. I didn't know them personally, but other people did. This was their hometown and where they had their family and children. So there's a lot of things that happened in this person's life, and as well. And I also worked on a project, an interlevel project of sending energy every day and sometimes twice a day to the psychic children around the world. And there were particular areas of psychic children that I was shown. And when I did this work, it's not like someone said, oh, we're doing this work, do you want to sign up? It was an interlevel message. It was like almost talking to myself. It was like I had done a meditation with my teacher, who lived in Hawaii at the time. And it was an intense apprenticeship program. And she had asked us if we invited us to be a part of this apprentice program. And it was like $5,000. It was a 9-month program. She provided us created an interlevel Merkaba. And at night, we said the invocation. Her invitation was the Merkaba. So she didn't get honest about if we did it or didn't, but I thought it's 9 months, it's $5,000. I'm going to give everything to it. I cleared everything else I was doing off the plate and just focused on her and her teachings and her meditations. And it was it was really meeting your inner teacher. And it was an external teacher too, but we met her in the dream world. It's not like Facebook. We didn't have interactions like this. We did have one monthly seminar. And then once a month we had like a half an hour session, like a kind of a aura reading. And it was with her or it was with her apprentice. 1 month apprentice. So it was, and the apprentice was amazing, and it went a different point of view. So it was really good to see both, or to have both. And that's what she did. She gave us, we worked on our chakra systems and our lives. She gave us some books to read and some a journal to keep. She gave us an exercise which was called the 5 gratitudes. Every morning before we got out of bed, we were writing down in our journal what we were grateful for, 5 things every day for 9 months. And this dream link, which was an invocation to activate this energetic Merkaba. And at night, we went into the Merkaba, and we got into the Merkaba, and it took us up into this really high plane of existence. And we met the mothers and fathers of creation. This was all during dream time. And the reason why I was excited about this is because I had spent 20 or more years of my life dedicated to teaching about dreams, remembering my dreams. Sylvia Brown talked about and taught how to get into the halls of wisdom. I was just listening to some of her old meditations as well, because she took us through these places, and I just thought it was a guided meditation, but she actually took us into these etheric planes. I really only thought it was still my imagination, and it was years later that I learned that it wasn't. But it doesn't matter what you feel or know, the fact that you show up for, if it's a guided meditation or it's actually in the inner levels, but that's when you find out, oh, this is real. Somebody told you, oh, you're going to go into the etheric realms and you're going to see all these amazing things. It's like there's that ego that might be like, oh, we're not going to do that. That's not true, or that'll make you too different, or people won't believe you, or all the things the ego wants to say. But if you're like, oh, we're just doing this guided meditation, this visualization, and we're gonna go through here, and we're gonna pull out some weeds and plant some seeds, and it'll be great. You'll see. And we're all here together, and we'll hold hands, and we have a light, so we do this together. So it was really amazing. That truly was indeed what it is that she was taking us into. Really amazing. So here I am, this 9-month program, and I'm like, I'm going to use it every day. I'm going to do my meditation every day. And I found that I really couldn't interact with other people and other groups at the time, because the energy of those meditations were so intense, and trying to ground that energy into the chakras by living it, by doing the meditation, by giving to the world. Really, it was this really deep insight. Dedicated it, like I said, to the 9 months actually, and then 3 months after for integration. So I could really had to reestablish my nervous system. One of my mentors today helped me reestablish my cranial nerves and my nervous system, because having all this intensity, this high energy, which I was not prepared to ground for. No one really knew exactly how to ground it, kind of the experiment. So what else did I want to say about that? I wanted to say that, so when we did this meditation and we went, you said your invocation, you got into your Merkaba, then it took you, and you really went. We all had, you all have a different image of what it's like to leave your body or where you're going to go, right? It changes over time. So you get in there and you go, and what that experience is like. And I'm going to share more about that. I'm working on it, so that's going to be coming. About what we did is this. Again, it was this daily routine that we had our dreams, and then when we woke up in the morning, we wrote down the 5 gratitudes, and then we wrote down. Then we did another mini meditation, which is how to take that energy from the dream time and bring it back into all your energy centers, into your chakra, and integrate that energy without even knowing what it is. You take it. There's a meditation you do. You take it. You bring it into your energy center, so you have the awareness of it. And it doesn't have to go through access at the bottoms of your feet and down your tailbone and your hands into Mother Earth. There you go. Bless you, Mother Earth. Bless you, water. Clean the waters. Nurture the soil. Help us understand how amazing and powerful we are in helping you heal and working together in partnership, right? So that's how you take the energy in, wherever it's going to come and move into your sushumna, your chakras, and then you send all the rest of it out. So that's the secret, is just when you take in information, when you've had a meditation, that you've done some kind of internal work where you're moving your consciousness, you're bringing energy in through your chakras, from nature, from the spiritual realm. You've got to make sure you take that extra time to breathe in and send it out through the feet, hands, the tailbone. Why? Because it's excess energy, and that excess energy in the body has to go somewhere, and it can overload a system. Think of it as water. That's one of my teachers taught me. So many things in the world, rather than seeing air, if we can imagine that we lived in water, in water, so that everything we do, everything we all the vibrations are making currents, and we could see it in water. If it lived underwater, you would be able to see things more clearly. You'd see thought forms. You'd see things whirling and moving, and it's really amazing. So that's another good tool to have that I learned early on, that I automatically see things as water, and they're suspended in this water, so they're easier to identify and clarify. So then we did, right, so then after then you write down your dreams, you write down awarenesses, you write down what you remember you saw. Anything can be important. You might color, you might dance, you might sing, you might do, all kinds of things. But to have this time where you're integrating and writing down words or drawing pictures that come to you, and keep this in a binder so that you can use this for your spiritual awareness, growth, awakening, and to understand yourself. Really, it's really about understanding yourself. So then also, after we did the gratitude and we got up, then we would do a rainbow shower every morning. And a rainbow shower is literally, I started by literally when you get up and you take a shower. You take a physical shower, a nice warm water, and maybe a salt scrub, and then a soapy water. And you imagine that water that's coming down changes color. And the colors of the rainbow, and red and orange and yellow and green and blue and indigo and violet. And you just see all the water changing to that color and coming down and showering you, letting your body, mind, spirit go and bless you, Mother Earth, transmute all that beautiful energy. Know that there's assistance, and know that there's an angel that's a rainbow colored angel. And everyone had different pictures or posted things like, "Oh, isn't that our angel?" or "That's what my angel looks like." And there's some that were like with glitter. That was mine, was pink and purple, and she had glitter, and the energy was moving. And so I'd always imagined her. It's a real picture of a drawing of an angel. So then you do the rainbow shower, and you shower down. Then we would do, once before we started, I did this before we started the meditation for the day, because there was a specific meditation she gave us that we did for 30 days. And that was based on the chakra system, and that was helping us be ready for the next chakra. But it wasn't just connected to one, because they're connected to all of them. It's pretty amazing. So anyway, before we did that, then we would sit down and we would talk to our spirit guides, or we would talk to our mentors in spirit. We would invoke whatever God or goddess wanted to come forward, our inner guidance of a very spiritual dimensions, to come in and have this moment with us before we start our meditation. And one of the questions was, how am I doing with my current goal? Whatever that spiritual goal was, whatever project you had. So my project was sending love and support to the psychic children around the world. And again, there were very specific areas in which I was sending the energy. And so I'd say, how am I doing with this project? Is there anything else I need to do? how is this impacting the world? And it didn't really matter to me so much in how it was impacting, because oftentimes I didn't really see what it was doing. But the fact is that I said that I would do it for that 9-month period, and it ended up again a year, because it was 3 months of integration afterwards. We were still connected, and we would also ask for a totem or a gift. And then just a moment to have them put their energy on our, you feel on your pressing on your hands, you might feel pressing on your heart, you might just feel warm glow over and over. So you're just invited your spirit guide, the other one is that we did different meditations with her. So one thing was we would invite our soul group leader, whoever was the main person who was leading that soul group, whether it was an archangel. I know that there was, I want to say Gandhi was somebody's leader. You might just have a feeling. It might change from person to person. We didn't bring up that same person. We just showed up and said, whoever is meant to come to work with me today, here I am, let's work together. And then we would do the meditation. And then it was like about half an hour really, but at first a half an hour, then later it was 15 minutes. After you do that meditation that we did, that everyone was doing for the month, that you do every day, you have that moment to express your love. You have that moment to integrate the energy. Now is the time in which you're like, okay, I'm merging back into my life, and I'm bringing this energy, this feeling, these ideas that I've had into my life. And how can I incorporate them? How can I have more joy with them? How can I, move through this thing that is going on in the world that I would like to see, change, right? So it's this integration. And then taking like a salt bath, and then going out on your day. So I had young children at the time, and I've worked part-time from home. I do a lot of, like I said, most of what I've done is volunteer work, using my healing hands and love and heart for animals and for individuals to learn things like Reiki and hands-on healing and amazing spiritual communities. And again, because I was with my children, and really my children have gone through so much that I have been full-time with them and like part-time volunteering. So that's the way that our world was meant to be, and continues as my children are, two of them are teenagers, 14 and 15 years old. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a little, that was kind of see what we had today, psychic impressions. I guess the other thing that comes up to say is that, so I did not know the teacher that I had that I did the 9-month program with. She's retired. She's here on Earth, and that's a whole other thing that we got to experience, and what she showed us about most spiritual teachers reach a certain level, and then they have to leave their body because the physical body wasn't able to hold that kind of high energy. But there was a change in the universe, and there was a change in the archangels began to bring more energy down into some of the other dimensions, so that the masters could move into other dimensions and still be in a body. But in their bodies, they were not helping individuals. They're more on a global awareness. But many of them stayed because, many different reasons, but all of them stayed because they wanted to keep moving into that consciousness and give it to the world. But they had family, or they had students, they had projects in the world that they're still wanting to nurture and be a part of. So just even their presence nurtures them, supports them, and there was an opportunity to do that. And it wasn't the easy way to do it either. So anyway, she was able to do that. But one of the things that she'd experienced is so she'd go into meditation at night. And she would go into meditation at night. She would say her prayers. She would go into a higher state of oneness, And in these higher states of oneness, she would share with us all the different expansion and all the different Buddhas and from all different religions, all these different beautiful angels and masters that were a part of these different levels. And she would bring that energy in and she would send it to all of us, her students who she initiated, but we'd send it out to the world. And it was truly amazing. I think I didn't realize how much it really did benefit the world. It seems like, oh, this is a good idea, and I do it even if it were coming from love and whatever it is that we're meant to do. But this really was connected to global healing, to earth healing, to grid healing, to these planetary connections. But it seemed very simple. It wasn't like it was a big fanfare and an announcement. You had to be fully into, this is a good idea for me, not what can I get out of it, this is something I'm going to dedicate my time and attention to because I care about it. And bonus, it's just really doing it in our own humble ways and larger ways, however we're so she would wake up in the morning and they started putting the silk cloth on her altar. She would go to the morning. In her bedroom on the altar, there was a white substance, and they call that vibhuti. You know what vibhuti is from the Hindu temple, and it's a very special, sacred, it comes from incense, and all these things are combined together to make vibhuti. The vibhuti is placed on different markings of the body. You see the tilak here, which is Krishna's followers, the tilak. It's called the tilak. It's white and it's here. And it's like the footprint of Buddha there, of Krishna there. And it's done with vibhuti. And it's a sacred substance. So what happens is that in some spiritual practices, they take the vibhuti and they put it on their forehead, right? That's another one. They put it on different markings on their body so that when they go to sleep at night and they go into the astral plane, they're lit up with this high-powered, amazing prayers and everything. Like you would think of henna go into this. And she made it spontaneously. She didn't know what was happening in her world. Not world, but she'd wake up and there'd be white stuff all over. And I remember the story as saying, well, it's not dust. We dust all the time, and this can't be dust. And then they started putting down a covering, and pretty soon she discovered that it was vibhuti. So, that's a psychic event. I would say that's a deeply spiritual psychic event. And so, but here, I heard things like that, and I accepted those things. Like I wasn't attracted to them because of that. I wasn't repelled because of it, but it wasn't something that I shared with a lot of people because I think it's personal. And then also this teacher, again, before I ever was a part of, physically a part of her teachings in her group, because she taught for, over 40 years. She started teaching really young. That I wasn't a part of that, but she also experienced it's scientifically known and inaccurately recorded that she experienced the stigmata. Do you know what the stigmata is? I'm going to give you a very Cliff Note version of the stigmata. It's something that you can look up, or I might post a link up. But again, I'd already been into this program. I didn't know her. I should probably tell you sometime about how I got connected to her. Here's a short story. Here's my TikTok version of how I got connected to her. I've always been connected to Hawaii. I found my guru in Chicago, and he lives in Hawaii. So we would go to spiritual retreats to see the ashram and help build this amazing ashram that we were in Hawaii before the Granted ashram was built. It was a small ashram, and we went, and it was just completely amazing for so many reasons. And I think I'll do a separate video on that. So, okay, so there's that. So then I was part of a spiritual community, but what had happened is in this spiritual community, there used to be opportunities for people to grow spiritually, to teach under the guidance of the leader, the overseer, the owner. what happened is they stopped doing that. They stopped providing opportunities for people to teach classes. They stopped providing opportunities for us to grow. Basically, it was like, I'm a very spiritual person and I can make cooking food very spiritual. And I did. And there was a good amount of time where it was really the physical needs. It was like, I just need you to physically be there. It was volunteer work. So it kind of, the dynamics changed. And it's not like it was a big announcement that was made one day. It was just things took place over time. And the person who was leading it, it's totally their prerogative to change their mind. Except for they didn't, you think sometimes people make changes and then they come back. And so it was, people started just leaving because it was clear that they were not being asked to help teach some of the classes. They was just physically to be there, to clean, to be a physical presence. This is how I experienced it. I'm like, that's not what I'm here for. I feel like I probably needed to leave a while ago, and I didn't, because I had an attachment. And my attachment was that my sister-in-law and I were in the spiritual community together, that my sister-in-law and I were on staff together at the same time. And I loved to serve with her. And I loved, my favorite time of her and I being together was when we were in these spiritual circles, because let's face it, we're so much nicer to each other when we're giving and when we're feeling alive and feeling in community. And she had transitioned. Cancer helped her get out of her body, and people who knew her and loved her were still around even before I knew her. So I love to hear stories, and being around these people brought me comfort. And then these individuals who knew her started leaving anyway, and I thought, I felt like I had to stay because I didn't have anything to go to other than I had my children and all those, my daily things. I was very dedicated. So I decided to start praying about it. I knew I needed to leave. It took me 5 years to get, I would say, the guts to cut the cords, but it got very, very uncomfortable. And I finally had enough. And I left before I found another place to go to. I was really waiting for another opportunity or another teacher or something different. And I had to leave before that happened. So I would meditate and I would pray. And one day in meditation, I was imagining. So I'm like, I'm going to imagine if that place doesn't exist, I'm going to start a new community. Then I'm going to start a conscious community. I've been parts of 3 major communities. I could do this again. Maybe I'm supposed to be doing this on my own. I thought I was a good backup person. I thought I was the person behind the curtains, making everything look seamless for the people in the front. Not that I didn't have value, but I know all things are equal and we all have value. But I wasn't prepared to step forward because I didn't want to. I was waiting to feel called. I was waiting to feel like, yes, now's the time. So I was meditating one morning, and a couple things happened. One, when my sister-in-law had transitioned, a friend of ours was in Kauai at the temple, and she just got in the news, and she looked up and she saw a rainbow, and she took a picture. And she said, this is a rainbow, from our loved one who just transitioned. Isn't this amazing? And she sent that to me. And then I meditated on rainbows. I'm like, I'm going to meditate on rainbows. I love rainbows. I love Hawaii. Rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. The chakras, we teach the 7 layers are the rainbow. So I was sitting in meditation, and all of a sudden there was a rainbow landed, like right in my lap. Like I did pranic healing, so we'd use our hands to send out energy, our heart center, and through our hands. And I had my hands out, and I had a rainbow on me. I'm like, and I heard catch a rainbow. I'm like, I caught a rainbow. I caught a rainbow. So then I started putting that into a search engine. Hawaii, rainbows, catch a rainbow. And I found this teacher who lived in Hawaii, who I said I was in their 9-month apprentice program, because I was in meditation and I caught her rainbow. And I looked online and I saw that she was in Hawaii, that she lived in Maui, a different island. And I had written to her and I had said to her, oh my gosh, I caught one of your rainbows. And she said, I did. I'm so glad I saw you catch a rainbow. And she had students here in the Chicago area. I probably should do a whole video on that, on that in snippets, but it was very amazing times. It's one of those things where you look back, you go, that really happened. And I on my path, I found, that I found my center, and I go into myself, because that's where all my connections lie, instead of thinking that it's out there. It can be out there when it comes from in here, right? So, well, I think I've said enough on that topic today. I spoke more than what I had planned. But the psychic children is something that I still work with. The psychic children has taken on other renditions, and it was brought to my attention at the end of this year that I need to follow through with some of these things that I've been wanting to do, and this is one of the ones, is to invite people to share what I did and how I did it, and to invite people to be a part of sending healing energy to the psychic children of the world. So, and we have some special empowering tools to do it, and do empowering the psychic children of the world. We are empowering our own inner child. We are empowering the global child of the planet, and it is how it all works together beautifully, because it truly is, we are never alone. And right now is especially carrying your light within as you go in the darkness. Don't leave your light outside the door. You always get to bring your light with you. So there is the sign of yin and yang, and each one is the opposite one. There's yin within the yang, and yang within the yin. Take a look, check it out. All right. Many blessings. Have a wonderful day. And if you can't have a wonderful day, find one positive attribute, one feeling thought, one healing thought, one beautiful cup of tea. Bless your water and drink it, and find the goodness in one thing, because it will come back to you tenfold. Many blessings. Stay in integrity, and being immaculate and being pristine do not come from the ego. They come from love for our environment. So let us not give into programs of mediocrity. Let us not give into programs of not caring or feeling disempowered, which is different than those times when we're like detoxing, when there's times we realize we've absorbed and taken on things from our environment, from our childhood, from other people. It's good to have that awareness. I don't curse the weed that shows up in my garden. I'm like, all right, I see you, weed. I want room for the things I want to grow in my garden, so I'm going to pull you out of the root, compost you probably, and plant a seed in its place. So we can't ignore the things in our life which are squeezing life out of us. We have to pull the weeds, cultivate the soil, and then plant the seeds. Another way of saying it is, you can't walk into your kitchen or your living room and take a mop and clean it. You have to lift the dirt off. You have to vacuum, or you have to sweep. You have to get the debris off. Then you bring soap to it, and then you bring clean water to it, because that is how you clean yourself, your floor. That is how you clean your life. And it's another way to bring spirituality to your day. Is living in a spiritual community is what we did every day, and I lived in one for 9 years. And we would bring mindful awareness and love to our daily activities. So we might be chanting that vibration into the floors, but it's a way of making something, elevating something. You elevate that washing the dishes. You elevate cleaning the floors by you. So you are the component. You are the light. You are the golden thread of your own world. And it truly is an inside job. So enjoy your inside job, even when it's smelly and it's dark, just know it's necessary and it's needed. And the more we forgive, the easier it is to dream bigger, because we have all of the energy we have to put into that dream today. Be well.